The buzz pulled me out of sleep like a slap. I grabbed my phone, squinting against the blue light. It was 3:12 a.m. A bank alert. I tapped it open, my thumb trembling before I even knew why. Balance, $42,317.08. My breath vanished. I sat straight up in bed, eyes fixed on the screen, hoping I had misread the number. I blinked. Still there. 42,000. Gone. I opened the full transaction history with shaking fingers. A car purchase, a motorcycle, a lump sum mortgage payment to an address I recognized too well. None of it mine. I tried to tell myself it had to be a mistake identity theft, maybe, but I already knew better. That address, that mortgage, that car, they all traced back to the same place, my parents. I called my father. The line rang twice before he answered on speaker. Music thumped in the background. I could hear my mother laughing light and carefree like they hadn't just gutted my savings. "Hey, what's going on?" he said as if I'd called to catch up. "My account's overdrawn," I said. My voice was tight, too calm. "It's maxed out." "Did something happen?" A pause. Then his voice came through annoyed, like I'd just interrupted his dinner. "You're always so dramatic, Mireya. The family needed help. Your mom's got medical bills, your brother's truck broke down, and the mortgage was behind. We couldn't just let everything fall apart." I sat there in the dark phone, to my ear, stunned that he said it like it was obvious. "Why didn't you ask me? I managed." "We don't need to ask," he snapped. "You owe us." In the background, my mom laughed sharp, dismissive. "What were you going to do with that money anyway? Buy yourself some candles. We had better plans." There was a silence after that. A thick, final kind of silence. I swallowed hard and said calmly, "Then don't ever call me again." I ended the call. I stared at the ceiling while the sound of their party leaked through my phone's speaker just for a second longer, then faded. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there, hands cold, heartbeat slowing as a strange calm settled in. Then I got up, turned on my laptop, and started logging into every account I had. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. That night, my silence didn't come from shock. It came from decision. I sat cross-legged on the floor laptop, opened the glow of the screen lighting up my living room. One by one, I pulled up every account that had my name tied to theirs. No emotion, no trembling hands this time. Just quiet, focused motion. First was the mortgage. They couldn't get approved, not with my mother's credit. So 4 years ago, I'd put it under my name temporarily. I'd been told it was just until they got back on their feet. I paused for a breath, then clicked Suspend Autopay. The confirmation email hit my inbox like a final stamp. Paused. Then the truck, my brother's. I hadn't co-signed. No, I'd opened the loan myself so he could get a better rate. I submitted a fraud dispute and marked it as unauthorized use. I didn't explain. I didn't feel the need to justify what they had never asked permission for in the first place. After that, it got easier. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. I had been paying for it all. Not just theirs, mine. Theirs, sometimes even distant relatives. My name, my card. I changed the passwords and closed the subscriptions. Electricity, gas, Wi-Fi. My mother's utilities had been under my account for years because she couldn't get through the application. They could scream later. I'd done enough explaining in my life. I didn't owe a preface. Somewhere around 4:30 a.m., I stopped and let the stillness wash over me. I stared at the wall and remembered a moment I hadn't thought about in years. I was 14. My mom had come into my room crying because the electric company was about to shut everything off. I had begged the salon next to school to let me sweep up hair after class, minimum wage under the table. I'd handed my mother every crumpled bill in my backpack that month, thinking I was helping. Thinking love looked like sacrifice. I didn't realize then that sacrifice when demanded stops being love. I wasn't raised. I was raising. They had depended on me for so long they forgot I could walk away. They mistook my consistency for permission. But I had never given consent to be used like this. I had never signed up to be their financial safety net, stitched into every corner of their lives like duct tape holding up a house no one else bothered to maintain. My strength didn't need to look like yelling. It looked like withdrawal. It looked like locked accounts, frozen payments, closed doors. And I wasn't done yet. The calls started coming just after sunrise. By 7:00 a.m., the voicemails were stacking like bricks in a wall. First, my mother's voice sharp and indignant. "Mireya, what did you do?" "The mortgage isn't going through. The bank says it's suspended. We trusted you." Then my father angrier. "You've crossed a line. You think this is funny the truck's gone. Repossessed. You better fix this." I didn't respond. I sat on my kitchen stool phone face down on the counter, letting each message land and disappear into digital air. An hour later, the tone changed. "You've always been the generous one," Mireya Mom said in a voicemail that came after 10 missed calls. "What's happening to you? This isn't like you." Then another. "We needed help. Why are you acting like a stranger?" The guilt came packaged neatly wrapped in old roles. The good daughter, the reliable one, the backup plan. I picked up my phone only when it buzzed with a message from Layla, my cousin. "Your mom says you shut off their gas. They're freezing." "Is that true?" I stared at the screen for a full minute before replying. "I didn't shut it off," I wrote. "I just stopped paying for it." There was no answer. Just the 3 dots like she was typing, then nothing. By mid-afternoon, screenshots from the family group chat started trickling in Layla again, quietly forwarding without commentary. The name of the thread had been changed to "Without Mireya." One aunt. "She thinks she's too good for us now." My mother. "We did everything for her." An uncle I hadn't heard from in 2 years. Ungrateful kids are the worst kind. The story they told themselves was clean and easy. I had turned on them. Forgotten my roots. Got a little money and thought I was better. No one asked how many birthdays they skipped. No one asked whose card paid for every holiday dinner, who fixed broken cars, bought last-minute flights, covered co-pays, or picked up the phone in the middle of the night to transfer rent money. That part never made it into the group chat. The silence from Layla was louder than I expected. No defense, no reply, just screenshots and distance. I thought I might feel bitter, but all I felt was confirmation. And then the voicemail came, the one that made me pause. The one with a tone I hadn't heard since I was a child. The voicemail played twice before I could make myself listen. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the phone like it might burn through the comforter. Finally, I pressed play. "Mireya, it's your mom." Her voice was brittle, like it might break under the weight of what she had to say. "Your dad fell, broke his leg. We're at county. No insurance, and they won't schedule the surgery without some kind of payment. They're saying we have to put something down today. We know you're upset, but this is serious. Please, just call us back." She hung up without saying, "I love you." That wasn't surprising. That word in our family was never spoken when it mattered, only when things were going well or when they wanted something. I held the phone in my lap and stared out the window for a long time. The morning was gray, overcast, like the world had taken a deep breath but hadn't decided how to exhale yet. I thought about calling. I even picked up the phone, hovered my finger over her number. The guilt rose quickly, familiar, practiced automatic. That voice in my head, sharpened by years of expectation. "Be the bigger person. You're the strong one. You're the only one who can fix this." But something held me back. Not anger. Not pride. Just memory. I walked to the kitchen and opened my laptop. I clicked open the folder I had named History. Inside, digital evidence of a childhood spent patching holes in their lives. Screenshots of overdraft fees, bounced checks they promised to cover but didn't. Scans of loan papers I co-signed. Photos of Christmas dinners paid for with my card. A receipt from the steakhouse where they'd gone the night of my last birthday, the one they forgot charged to my account. It wasn't the money that had broken something in me. It was the pattern, the ease, the belief that my silence was consent. I closed the folder and opened my banking app. I wrote a check not to them, not to the hospital, but to myself. I labeled the transfer peace fund. I would move it into a separate account the next day. A promise to my future self, I won't drain myself to keep someone else comfortable ever again. The phone buzzed again. This time a text from Layla. Your mom said you won't help, that you're really letting them go through this alone. I stared at the message and typed back slowly. I hope he heals. But I won't hurt myself again to fix them. No reply, just the gray bubble blinking, then vanishing. And when the doorbell rang the next morning, I didn't need to ask who it was. They showed up just after 9. At first, I thought it was a delivery, 2 quick knocks a pause. But then came the voice, Mireya. Open the door, I walked to the peephole, slowly already knowing. My father stood on the porch, pacing like he couldn't decide whether to knock again or kick the door in. My mother sat on the front step sobbing loud enough for the whole street to hear her leopard print sweater hanging off one shoulder, hair unbrushed, mascara already smudged. I didn't open it. I didn't say a word. I watched them through the narrow lens of that little glass circle while the coffee in my hand stayed warm. The mug I drank from had been a gift from them 2 birthdays ago. White ceramic with gold cursive favorite daughter. I remember unwrapping it while they argued in the background about whether I could afford to cover the property taxes that year. They had called me that favorite when I was useful. Now the title rang hollow. Open the damn door, my father shouted. You're ruining the family. I sat on the couch, calm, coffee in hand, letting their voices blur into background noise. 12 minutes. That's how long they stayed. Pacing, yelling, begging, threats mixed with pleads, accusations tangled with apologies that didn't sound like apologies at all. Mireya, please. He's injured. We're your parents. How could you do this to us? The door shook under my father's fist once, maybe twice. But I didn't flinch. Yelling without respect is just air. And I'd stopped letting air move me. When the porch finally went quiet, I opened my laptop and pulled up a draft email I'd written 2 nights earlier. I read it one last time, then hit send. Subject, full disconnection. To my lawyer. It was all there: power of attorney revoked, shared health insurance, canceled family phone plan, deactivated, every utility transferred out of my name, every financial tether severed. I made sure the language was precise. No access, no fallback, no confusion. They had never seen me as a person, just a source, a battery that kept charging their lives, a name that made things go through, a card that never declined. But I had reached the limit. I closed the laptop, rinsed out my mug, and let the silence stretch across the kitchen like a fresh sheet. And when I showed up to Ava's wedding the next weekend, I walked in wearing black satin not to mourn, but to remind them I wasn't theirs to grieve. I arrived just as the music changed and the doors to the reception hall opened. The lights were warm, the tables glowed under strands of soft white bulbs, and laughter spilled out into the cool air of the evening. I walked in alone, dressed in black silk that hugged me without asking for permission. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't blending in. I had chosen black because I wanted them to see me, but not as they remembered. Their eyes found me within seconds. My mother's jaw tensed before she forced a smile. My father stiffened beside her, adjusting the sleeve of his rented tux like he needed something to do with his hands. I didn't stop walking. I moved through the room with calm steps, nodding politely to distant cousins and old neighbors, none of whom knew the story behind the silence. I sat at a table near the back with Ava's friends, the ones who had only heard of me in passing, the career cousin, the one who sent generous gifts and rarely came home. Ava had insisted I be there. She called me 3 times to make sure. You've always shown up for everyone else, she said. I just want to be the one who makes space for you. My mother passed my table just before the salad course. She slowed down, touched the back of my chair lightly. Her hand shook. You look different, she said, voice low. I turned to meet her eyes. I am. She opened her mouth like she might say more, but I raised my hand, gently stopping her without touching her. I'm here for Ava, not for you. She nodded once. Whether it was understanding or disappointment, I didn't care. I watched her walk away, back toward the part of the room where I no longer belonged. My seat didn't come with expectations. It didn't demand anything from me except presence. Later, during the toasts, my father raised his glass. He looked directly at me like he was waiting for some cue. A smile, a nod, a silent truce. I didn't give him one. I lifted my water glass with the others but kept my eyes on the bride. Peace doesn't come from pretending nothing happened. It comes from accepting everything that did and not letting it define the person you choose to become. When the dance floor opened, I kicked off my shoes and let myself be pulled into the music. Ava grabbed my hand and spun me in a half-turn, laughing like we were kids again before everything got complicated. And when the night ended, I left without saying goodbye. It's been a year. A full year since they drained my account and called it family. Since I closed the accounts, cut the cords, and stopped answering their emergencies. Since I started choosing quiet over obligation. My new apartment is smaller, cleaner. No echoes of footsteps I never invited. I run my own firm now, just me, a few contractors and clients who respect boundaries. I log off when I say I will. I sleep without flinching at late-night vibrations on my phone. I started therapy 2 months after the fallout. I haven't stopped going. This year, on my birthday, my phone stayed silent. No calls from them. No fake apologies. No passive-aggressive texts disguised as concern. For the first time, I didn't brace myself for disappointment. I didn't expect anything. I was folding laundry in the late afternoon when the knock came. It wasn't loud, just 3 soft taps. I opened the door to find Ava standing there with a cake and a half smile. "I know you don't do big things anymore," she said, "but I thought maybe we could just sit." The cake had no writing on it, just candles. She pulled 2 out of her coat pocket and stuck them in, lighting them with a shaky flame. We didn't sing. We didn't make wishes. We just sat across from each other at my little table, watching the candles flicker like proof that the world was still turning. She looked at me and whispered, "You were never the problem, Mireya. You were just the first to escape." I didn't know how to answer, so I didn't. We just breathed, no expectations, no performance. And that silence, the one I used to fill with giving and explaining and fixing, felt for the first time like something whole. The next day, I got a text from an unknown number. They say family doesn't keep score, but they did. Every ride I gave, every bill I paid, every late-night phone call answered, logged in their memory as proof that I owed them more. I wasn't their daughter. I was a balance sheet, a backup plan. I used to tally it too, but only in my heart. Quiet math in the background of every gathering, every holiday, every time they asked for one more thing. I didn't stop giving because I ran out. I stopped because they never noticed the cost. So I closed the account. Now the guilt still comes sometimes. It knocks gently, pretending to be something else: duty, kindness, forgiveness. But I don't open the door. I let it pass by like weather. I've learned that healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just the steady hum of a quiet apartment, the sound of your own breath without pressure pressing down on it. Sometimes it's lighting a candle with someone who sees you, not what they can get from you. I stopped chasing blood ties. I started choosing soul ties, the ones who call to check in, not to cash in, the ones who don't measure my love by how much I'm willing to lose for them. They still talk. My mother still posts her vague updates. My father still plays the victim in stories where I'm the villain. But I don't answer to their version of me anymore. I belong to me now, fully, finally, freely.